federal, state, and appellate. So we, personal injury, do quite a bit. And our partner, Tillett Mills, we two-man shop, and we're good at what we do. Before anything, I'm a businessman. My first company was when I was 20. Started a light load trucking company. We had, the dualies and the goosenecks. Ran around, hauling loads, just-in-time loads. Right now, I run the Black Investment Syndicate, so we have a couple small projects under our belt. We just now closed on our second project, which is a snow cone stand, nice little cash business.
Tell them what you do, because then people already know. Hey, tell them how many y'all got investors. People want to know that type of stuff.
Okay, so we have a total of 11 investors, and the 12th one being the Black Investment Syndicate itself. We raised some money. We're opening up a snow cone shop in the 3rd Ward area. Our first project was an online shea butter company. We bought into Adrian's Rocher, which we're now going through a rebranding. But we raised money, about 7 investors in that one. I personally have a franchise out in Clear Lake, Tea House Tapioca and Tea, out there, El Camino Real and Barry Boulevard. Go check it out. Get some boba in your life.
Promoting, always be 7.
And, I'm always looking at new opportunities, whether they're debt or equity deals, starting a business, buying a business, whether it's there's an idea that we're thinking about in Ghana, so I'm about to fly out to Ghana in April or May. All right. I'm always looking at something, and I'm taking it back to my investors in the Black Investment Syndicate to see if we can make something happen. Whether it's a small deal, we ain't big enough to do large deals yet, but large for us. Small or large to us. The key thing is looking at return on investment, and then community impact, and education, educating the investors so they know the ins and outs of creating a business, the legal pitfalls, the real world pitfalls, the monetary pitfalls, and just how to wrap their mind around it as a whole.
All right, I asked you this, so I know a lot of people always ask, about being an entrepreneur. They want to be an entrepreneur. What is it, something specifically that kind of got you in that realm of thinking like, hey, this is what I want to do beyond you went to law school, so I know they had to take some time. And did that give you any insight on starting your businesses or being an entrepreneur?
Well, in the first phase, this is way before law school. When I was 20 and I started that first business, I just took the dive. I took my savings, I took some debt, and I just went ahead and financed the trailers, got the appropriate permits, and I just dove in. And I crashed and burned in 18 months, but I learned a lot.
Sure.
The second phase was after law school, and law school did, teach me a lot, at least on the legal side. By then I had, raised my business chops through trial and error. But it sounds very, what's the word? This might not be super useful. Right. You might have heard it before.
Cliche.
It's cliche. There we go. Thank you, cliche. But the key thing is perseverance, right? Perseverance is good because it snowballs your expertise, it snowballs your knowledge. Just because you fail the first time, you take the lessons learned from that, you apply it the second time. You get closer to the mark of making money and doing what you love, right? And you just keep on repeating that. Along with perseverance, you got to be able to roll the dice. If you're sitting on the fence, you're scared to take that leap. And I'm talking about a genuine leap. I'm not talking about I did everything I need to do to start up my business, but I'm still going to keep my day job, and I'm only going to hustle after 5 when I get off and on the weekends.
So taking that leap is not keeping your same day jobs, keeping your same day-to-day, your same comfort.
Right. You got to step outside the box. I'm going to steal Will Smith's phrase. Once you have a plan B, once you have a backup, you've admitted to yourself that plan A is not going to work. There cannot be a plan B or a C. There's just plan A. That's it.
You can truly commit to that? Have you? Or do you commit always? That's your life. You live your life like that?
That's my life.
What about you?
I mean, right now, as far as me, I ain't gonna lie, I'm still trying to buy my freedom off that thing you call the plantation. But at the end of the day, at the same time, anybody that know me, once I'm going full, once I'm going heads in, what I'm doing, I'm all in. It's just a means to an end. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, hey, I ain't no killer, but don't push me. If my job saying something too bad, you know, or saying something to me, I have no problem, no quarrels with telling them to kick rocks. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling them to kick rocks. They tell me to kick rocks, but I'll be cool with that. I think you gotta be ready for the consequences.
And to clarify, there's nothing wrong with having a day job. There's nothing wrong with that comfort. But if you steady telling yourself you want more out of life, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to do this, I want to do that, then the only way it's going to work at the end of the day, the only way is, you know, you gotta put your everything behind that statement. Like literally, you gotta leave it all out there. Blood, sweat, tears, everything. You gotta just take the leap. Now, I'm not saying I don't have a penny to my name and I'm gonna take the leap. Nah, you wanna, you know, get your ducks in a row.
Okay.
You know, that you need to get in a row and then make the leap. But if you get your ducks in a row and you still sitting there on the fence, I would never bet on you. If I was an investor, you came to me and you're like, this is what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, okay, so when you going full time into this? Okay, well, you know, once I get to this point or after I get this many investors, nope, I ain't investing in you because you don't even believe in what you're doing.
Wow.
Right. I mean, yeah, I guess you can kind of put that in perspective. Like, hey, if you're not willing to go 100, if you're not willing to go full speed and kind of what you believe in, why should I believe in you? I guess I feel like, why? You know, I'm sorry, white people use that as a conversation. Like, hey, why should we help black people? Y'all not even doing everything to help yourselves. I'm like, I don't know how true that statement is, because, you know, there's gonna be some bias on that. But I take it for what it is. We gotta be doing the, you know, we gotta be taking the steps that we can. Come on now, we already know the ins and outs to that statement. It's multi-layered. It's complicated. And if we get into it right now, trust me, we'll be here talking about it all day.
Word. All right.
But for sure, no, for sure. I mean, I would put it like this: is it any other than that? What other controversies do you feel like, any pitfalls that you feel like you can help anybody to maneuver around, or do you feel like that's something that you have to run into as starting your business? You feel like you need those pitfalls, or is it something that's avoidable?
I mean, they are avoidable. I don't wish these pitfalls on anybody, and there's like a million of them, right?
For sure.
But if you're in a vacuum and you just hitting your head against the wall, eventually that wall is going to crack. Again, that's where perseverance comes in. But it doesn't have to be like that. When I look at other ethnic groups, white folks, Latinos, Asians, Jewish folks, whomever, they're very good about passing knowledge down. They're very good about, as you say, group economics, helping each other up, right? And so if I'm a rookie, if I'm a Latino and I'm a rookie, I don't know nothing about starting a food truck. I don't know nothing about opening a taqueria. I don't know nothing about opening a tire shop.
Right.
And, you know, I got a few bucks saved up. I can get help. I can get someone, maybe not to hold my hand, but to say, watch out for this, don't do that, this is who you talk to, right?
For sure.
Black people generally don't have that.
You're right.
And then those who do are usually the bourgeois, the Uncle Toms, right? You know, the Jack and Jills of us all.
For sure.
So, and that's part of the reason, this is not a plug for the Black Investment Syndicate, but it's part of the reason I created it. Wow. I give a lot of help that, you know, in other groups, they're like straight up consultants who do what I'm doing, like for mad money. But I give a lot of help to people who want to invest or start a business. I sit down and I talk to them. You know, I have legal expertise that they would normally have to pay for that I help them out with. There's a lot that I do in the Black Investment Syndicate for members and even people who are not members, just to like help get them over that hump. Right. Now, a lot of those people who I talk to, they still don't get to where they're going because they never take the step. They don't take the action. I'm not going to do it for you.
For sure. Right? I mean, which you shouldn't unless you got some percentage of stake in it. But I would say one thing that a lot of black people that I realized when we first started creating group economics, going to these different businesses, not only do our businesses, people that already own business, don't seek extra help to enhance or grow their business, but people that want to start business, we don't go talk to these business owners. Like we don't have the young people that go talk to these people that already own business, unless they in your family or somebody that you know personally. Other than that, we're not going outside and just, hey, it's a black person on this beauty supply. Let me go talk to him and see, you know, maybe he'll talk to me, mainly because we don't think that they will give us that information. I mean, or maybe you're just nervous and just don't want to get it. But
Correct.
I went and talked to these people and they'd be like, yeah, I've been waiting on a young person to come talk to me. I want to hand over the mantle.
You know why you know why I don't fault them for that? Because it doesn't occur to a lot of people to just go ask somebody.
Correct.
Sure.
You know, people are pretty forthcoming when you ask them. If for nothing else, then it strokes their ego, right? Or they don't ask me. You know? But you know, I think they just don't think about going to ask.
Correct.
You're right. But I mean, why isn't that? I mean, we go to the internet for everything. Some people. I mean, I feel like if we can go to the internet for it, or we know a black-owned business, that isn't something that we need to start doing, because I feel like I told somebody the other day, they say, hey, these young people never come talk to us. I say, I don't think it's enough these days that we wait for people to come talk to us. I think us as entrepreneurs, us as millennials now, we got to go be and grabbing these young people that we feel like have promise or have a drive and teach them along the way and grab them like, hey, this is what you need to know. Because like we say, as many people of us that's not asking, how many of them are not asking? And we see the talent, and I'm sure other grown people have seen it in you. Like, son, you gonna be some in your life. How many grown people you done had tell you like, hey, I bet you gonna be some. You gonna be some when you grow up. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, what you doing? You young and you doing good. I'm like, all right. Now that you know I'm young and doing good, what information? What are you doing to help me succeed?
Yeah.
What are you doing to further my knowledge, either in my field or yours? It don't have to be my field, because what they say, how many 50% of people that get a degree don't follow their same degree anyway? Like you don't get a job in your degree. So I don't know how many people that say just because I'm not in your field don't mean I can't go pick your brain. And I think that's what we have to do, and not only picking other people's brain, but seeing other kids, seeing other millennial groups and like, hey, you want to be a lawyer? Come with me for a day. You know, and I think we have to be actively doing stuff like that, because we're going to end up in the same position we are in now. Same young people not asking for help, and we're going to be the millennials like, hey, where they at? Nobody want to learn. They lazy.
See, there was always set up an automatic apprentice systems in a lot of other cultures.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was forced out or just happened to lose that, but that apprentice system was usually just automatic, especially through father to son or within family. Right?
Well,
but now
for certain people, they didn't allow it. A lot of people, I was talking about this the other day, even with the program, they were saying with some lawyers and some jobs in some states, they had it where you couldn't even be in that profession unless somebody already in it or somebody white bring you along. And you're like, dang, everybody just say no. What do you do at that point? You know, that's how we got in a permanent stance of like, you need to be a teacher, preacher. You know, those are the things you didn't need nobody help. That was stuff that you can do within your own community. So you didn't need no input. You didn't need the white person. You didn't need no extra degrees from they. You can say, hey, I want to be a preacher, or I want to be a teacher. You go to your appropriate school.
More so, let's say with preachers and teachers, there seems to be a lot more, let's say, apprentices or apprenticeships for those positions.
Because they didn't want to be around black people.
Yeah, but what about all the other stuff? It's kind of limited.
I mean, you got to think about stuff like, go back to high school, middle school. Remember we used to have wood shop? Remember we used to have all that stuff like that? They literally lobbied, those industries lobbied to have that stuff taken out of our schools to make you go to college.
Correct.
That was the whole scheme. This stuff, you can be a plumber, all that stuff back in high school, but they took all that stuff out. They lobbied to take this stuff out of school, talking about it's dangerous.
Yeah, but
they gonna get hurt.
Bringing it back to the topic, business was never really. It was very rare to meet a black business person.
For sure.
Right, very rare. It's still kind of rare today, but it's a bigger push now, so you can see a lot more young ones in it as well as older ones in it. But growing up, I just naturally never met. I mean, there was like people who, I don't know if they owned it, but they worked the counter of the neighborhood candy store, which is like the garage of somebody's house that they outfitted into a store, what have you. They might have been black. They're kind of different. That's like a mom and pop shop. Okay, cool. I never really thought to ask them about business because there's a different level of business there. Other than that, did you actually really meet business owners? You know, like somebody who actually was doing investment banking or investments in business or what have you.
I think that's a lost art in the black community, period. Investment banking.
I don't think it's a lost art.
I mean, but as a kid, you can't just be like,
I mean, I got a little bit of I guess, entrepreneurial type folks in my family back in the islands. But I don't know, when I look at the history, you know, of black folks in America, you slaves, right? You getting families torn up, you're getting beat, you know, they're changing your name, they're trying to make your hair straight with lye soap and whatnot. And then eventually all of a sudden you're free, right? So now that you're free, they don't want you to work, you know, they create a sharecropping system and all that type of stuff. Eventually that goes the way of the dodo, right? So now you got, you know, they're trying to push you to become, like you were saying, a teacher, a carpenter, you know, a very specific set of things. And right around that time, you start to notice that as we are becoming what we are today, a lot of your success as a black person is linked to one of two things. I'm one of those professions which can exist solely within the black community, or I'm in a position working for somebody else, so that somebody else being a white person, right?
For sure.
So your success is directly, for majority of people, your success is directly tied for working for someone who does not look like you. So now the ability to think outside the box, so to speak, and I think George Washington Carver or Booker T, I don't remember who, but somebody said that that's around that era that, you know, black folks started to not value something as simple as selling peanuts to your own people, right?
Right.
Like Latinos.
But the foreigners came in.
They'll come in and
came
sell
in to do it. That
peanuts.
was Carter G. Woodson.
That was Carter G. Woodson? Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
That's a lifestyle thing, and that's kind of where we're in the catch-22, being the lowest class in the highest class nation. There's a lot of luxuries we want, but can't really afford, which kind of drives us backwards. You know, selling peanuts can get you to that next level, but hey, it's beneath me to sell some peanuts.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
but it's not. Because you know how much money you can make just off of a simple snow cone stand?
Again,
But see, that brings you
metrics
back
of
to
quality
delayed gratification. and right now, and that's what we did. I think we got used to seeing, you know, to be honest, we got used to seeing white people, and we got to, like you say, that job is too good for me, so I can't do that. So we don't believe in working jobs in our own or working minuscule things in our own community till you get to that level. We want to get there. We want to be there from the beginning.
The reason why I disagree with that is because I think people think like that because they don't realize, they don't have the business mindset to realize that if a snow cone, a styrofoam cup, a spoon, a straw, a napkin, ice, and syrup cost me a total of 30 cents, and I turn around and sell it for $3, and if, you know, they don't realize that it's a cheap product to the consumer, you got a huge margin, low overhead, and that at the end of the month, you know, you could be profit-wise, you could easily be looking at $10, $20, $30,000, especially in a climate like Houston.
That's what I'm
Right?
saying.
Is
We
that
don't see
really
it.
easily, or is there a lot of details you're kind of missing in there?
Well, I mean, I am glossing, but it's not rocket science, right?
No, it's definitely not. But
No.
you're glossing because there's a lot of failed snow cone businesses out there.
No, I agree. There's a lot of failed everything, right?
Yeah.
But if you drive down 59, 45, 610 Main Street anywhere in Houston, what do you see? You see food places, you see clothing places, you see cell phones, you see so many businesses. Those businesses would not be there if they're not making money, right?
Sure.
So you've got all these places all over Houston selling all types of stuff, overlapping. You see a coffee shop here and a coffee shop across the street, and they're both making money. But black people, because of that history of ours, we don't see the opportunity that, wait a minute, there's all these people with disposable income. I'm selling an item that's fairly cheap. All I need to do is get a certain number of people a day to break even. Everything after that is gravy.
Yeah, but it's looking at comparing opening up a snow cone, you know, that's beneath me, or selling peanuts versus, you know, a lot of black people want to open up their own coffee shop. They're the ones is there. You know, you're comparing those two desires and us shunning the one, but you're saying, hey, that's kind of bad. But it's
I would say this. I got somebody that said on here real quick, like why we don't use some of our black banks, which I know we do. To be honest, I know some of our banks, like they just become a lot more strict to get money and do things to them, you know, for as fees, for as a lot of stuff. Not saying it can't be done, but just for as I think it's become a lot easier to maneuver with other banks. But I have my bank account with Unity personally, so I don't know if anybody else.
Unity is where?
In Third Ward.
It's in Third Ward?
Yeah.
And
Unity
then one on
Financial Bank.
2234 as well.
Yeah, Missouri City.
Okay, so it's only those two. So I've never seen.
Yeah, no,
a
that's
black
probably like the
bank
only
again.
in Texas.
Yeah,
You know,
and
And
but
like, I
There's
didn't
no
even
one in
know.
Texas.
Yeah.
And like, I need branches. I need to be able to gain access to my money, which is the kind of number one reason.
they have partnerships with other alliances with other stuff. Not saying it's still not enough sufficient once you done had Chase or Bank of America, but how we gonna get there if we don't, if we don't use it right now?
Well, I mean, I don't remember who said this, but they said we jumped in the economic ladder by trying to open banks. Black people are not in a position to fully utilize a bank.
For sure.
And then just because you're a black bank does not mean that you're immune to the market of banks. You still got certain things, regulations and fees and things
Sure.
that they're gonna have to pay for. And if they don't get a certain critical mass of users,
Yeah.
bank account people, loans,
Exactly.
etc.,
Yeah.
then how are they going to pay their bills?
They're not.
I don't think
Right.
people
That's
think
what
about
they
that. I don't
keep
think they
failing.
think
Right.
about all the regulations and the stuff that comes behind owning a bank. Because what we hear all the time is credit union this, credit union that, credit union. I'm like, that's fine. We would have the numbers of us municipal people. What people that we gonna have in there putting in real money to really sustain a bank? I think people don't really know what it takes to sustain and keep up a bank.
Nah, the black
from
community
month
can
in and
sustain
month
a
out.
bank. I know there's quite a
I'm not
few
saying
of
it
them,
can't.
especially in the earlier, 20th century, 19 in the 1900s, what have you. There's a lot of prominent black banks, but they all failed through different, let's say, regulations, mergers, or even more so, fraud. Even the very first black bank, which is like the Freedmen's Bank,
Right.
fraud. A bad investment. Oh, bankrupt the bank can't survive now.
I mean, it wasn't only that. I mean, as far as the Freedom Bank, as far as what they was doing, the regulations stuff they was kidding, they was straining the bank to a certain degree to make sure it failed, because a lot of stuff that Lincoln was going to do, but he got killed before it was able to, be done and set in place. So I think it was a lot of regulations that probably, and racism.
There's a lot of, but it's not for a lack of trying.
For sure.
There's sabotage, fraud you got to keep an eye on, and in order, a lot of banks.
I'm saying that even before we get to that point of even like creating a bank and having to patronize our own bank, there's so many things that we could do to entrench ourselves in the community and build wealth, right?
Like what? You can't build wealth without a bank, or let's say not a bank. That's because my thing is. There's a statement you said, trying to jump, skip steps on the ladder.
Yeah, the economic ladder. Right?
You can skip steps. No, we shouldn't be trying to create.
Well, the
Poor
reason-
folk needs a tried and true modern money management system. Whether you call it a bank or not, people need a way to access and manage their hard-earned money.
No, they do. But here's the thing: like you said, you want branches, you want access, right?
Access.
It
doesn't necessarily need a branch, but I need a way to get cash because
Right.
America
Yeah, I
needs
got you.
cash.
I got
so
you.
whether it's
So-
a branch or some type of machine, I
Right.
need some way of accessing my money.
So my point is, banks are not immune to what the consumer whims, right? True. Black people, like any other people, they want certain things that Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo can provide that smaller banks, Spirit of Texas, Unity, and others cannot provide. They do not provide.
Because you get the same thing. You get an account number. You get a card.
I'm talking about-
ATM.
I mean,
Like,
we'll go back. We'll go
get-
back and forth on the bank stuff all day about
I'm trying to-
regulations and what
I'm
they
trying to-
do.
What I was trying to get
Go
to, a particular point that I was trying to get to is that the reason why I say banks are really not necessary for black people right now is because banks are most well utilized when you have more of a mature economic group.
For sure.
I'll use the Asians as an example. There's a whole bunch of Asian banks now, right? But they own a bunch of land. They're starting a bunch of businesses. They have a bunch of investments. They're entrenched in Houston. They're in the political system, right? They have a whole seat that's pretty much always Asian now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're in a position now to where they need banks that understand their clientele and can get money at the Fed rate and then rent it out, because that's what a loan is. You're renting out money to the other folks at a very at a large rate. Black people currently don't have the need for that type of for that type of capital.
I just think
Correct.
we're not ready for that type of. I mean,
Because
we do
that's the
whole,
way the bank is making money. Like, you gotta get your mind off of, like, we only need a management system, and however cheaply you can get that is what's needed. All the banking stuff on how the bank should make, like, you gotta get rid of that.
So why not just use the banks that are there? And then as far as an access to capital model for us to build wealth, we just take the age-old Nigerian concept of an isusu. We can do what I'm doing with the Black Investment Syndicate in order to aggregate our money, start a business. Now Lloyd started a business because we helped him start a business. We've got equity in it or some sort of debt from it, and now we're making money. And now he's got his business that started up and doing well, and now he's creating wealth, right?
So you still need a receptacle to hold your monies.
That's the bank.
Exactly. So
But
you
not
still
our
need
bank. It's a bank that's already in
Isuzu?
existence.
That's the name of the bank, or that's a
No,
but-
an isusu is
there-
an access to capital model.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's still a banking
Yeah.
system, money management system is still absolutely needed. And whether if you prefer the black community to own it, then focus on the system itself and the needs, the utilities of that system for the black community, not just follow what all the rest of the banks are doing.
Right. I mean, I guess we already we exhausted everything that we could talk about black banks, and we already know, hey, as far as when it comes to our neighborhoods, what we need to do. Last thing we'll pretty much get into is what is to come next post legalization of marijuana. Like, what is to come next? Like, when I say what's to come next, I mean, obviously by them legalizing marijuana and legalizing stuff, they're going to have to let a lot of people out of jail. So my thing is, what is to come next to keep up that prison complex system? Because obviously they're not letting people out of jail and not getting more people in. So what is that next thing to get people caught up in the system? One thing that I have been looking up lately is criminalizing debt. So we have a lot of things. When I say criminalizing debt, I mean criminal justice debt, which means just excessive fees. You know, when you have a fee, you can't pay it. They make you, they pile it on. Each month, each something that you can't pay, they're going to pile it on so you can't pay it again. Next one is cash bail, which is something that they want to switch to, which is something where you paying everything cash, which is not good for black people because we're good with the 10% or whatever is paid. Is that what it is for bail? 10%? 10% or whatever it is, and a lot of people can't pay that. I'll say that's kind of the thing with the bail system now. A lot of people stuck in jail only because they can't pay bail. Last thing was privatization of probation. I didn't know this for a long time. Like, I didn't know that they paid private companies to monitor your probationary status. When you get out of jail, I looked it up and they say a company called Providence Community Corrections, they paid out a settlement around 2015, I think is why I seen a quote, of $14.3 million for extorting poor people for saying, hey, when you get on probation, you got a misdemeanor, but we gonna charge you a supervision fee. Like, we gonna supervise you while you're out. To the so much where they had to pay out $14.3 million. So think about how much money they stole and took from people. When say this your private probation that you think you didn't went through the state, they didn't gave it out to another private company and say, we gonna watch you and make sure you pee good, everything like that, to the point where they had to pay that. So I'm sure if they had to pay out $14.3 million, I'm sure they are not the only one. I think that was in Tennessee as well. Mm-hmm. So, you know,
pretty good business.
What y'all think? Yeah, I mean, hey, it's a good business model, but it's not good for us.
Right.
You know, so what do y'all think that's going to come next post marijuana? Is it good? Is it bad? You know.
I let the lawyer go.
He say that's not his expertise. This man criminal is not his expertise, but he like, hey, I told him come anyway.
Yeah, you know, again, criminal is not my expertise, so this is my opinion. But I don't think that we out of the woods when it comes to marijuana yet. But assuming marijuana was to become 100% legal all across America, you know, so let me sidetrack. I don't think that debt will ever really become criminalized because it would affect white people too much as well, right? It's kind of like the opioid crisis thing. It's such a big deal because it affects the white people so much. So whenever the people who are making laws and the judges and the state legislators, whenever they can see their own little Timmy as the recipient of a harsh punishment for opioid crimes, then they'll be like, oh no, it's not that big of a deal. It's an opioid crisis.
Is it affecting the white people that matter though?
Yeah.
Enough of them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Especially on the debt side, it's affecting them more than it's affecting us. If we were to criminalize debt, there'd be a whole lot of white people going to jail. Donald Trump would be in jail.
Yeah.
But I think we're talking about the wrong type. I think you're thinking about the wrong type of debt. When I say debt, I don't mean like debt as far as like creditors. I'm talking about like debt for unpaid parking tickets,
like for instance,
stuff like that.
You get a speeding ticket, I can't afford that speeding ticket. Now I get a warrant for my arrest, which is another ticket. Now I can't even afford that. Therefore, I go to jail, which is another fee. I can't afford any of it, and I've probably lost my job.
Exactly. So for those types of things, you can do time served in jail and not have to pay a fee, but nobody really wants to sit in jail.
And then you lose your job. That's another thing. You lose your job.
But you're going to jail not for the money. You're going to jail because of the infraction. So that's an important distinction to make. So I guess the other thing is if you have court fees, you're not going to go to jail because of court fees, right? Unless it's I don't know, violation of probation. I'm not sure. If you don't pay your probation fee.
Oh yeah, you're going back to jail. You're going to pay your probation fees.
Okay.
For sure. Got too many cousins. I know the answer to that one.
Okay. So then I think that's because then if you don't pay, it's revoking your probation. So then the original underlying charge is what you're going to jail for.
Right. And you can't get a job because you.
It's snowball.
Right. But as far as like a pure to honest, just a straight up fee, and you can't pay it, and so you're going to jail. That'll never happen. Like it's in the Constitution. I can't remember the article or the clause or any of that stuff. But you can't go to jail.
You was 3/5 a person too at one point in time. Nah, I'm just messing with you.
You're right. I can't even argue that, man.
What you got? What you think?
Convicts post marijuana. What next? I don't know. It's a good thought. I don't think. Can you actually retroact or undo charges? I don't think have they ever done that. I guess it's pardoning.
They said they are to a certain degree. They said they're going to allow people now when you come to this is California now. I don't know about everybody else.
I heard,
but California said now for certain crimes or for certain drug infractions, they will allow you even when you go to a job. When they say do you got a criminal record, you can say no.
Okay.
So I don't know how long that's going to go back or how much they're going to give you, how much time they're going to give you. But they said in California for right now, if you go there and you haven't had, I don't know if you got out, if it was a misdemeanor, but you can say, hey, no, I don't have a criminal record. I thought that takes a long way. When you can put on a job application, you haven't had no felonies or, no misdemeanors, even though you've been in prison, I think that can be a positive change.
That is
as long as your name not Ray Ray.
That's it.
on the job application, then they can't tell you. Yeah, expunge. That's what she said. That's the right word, expunge.
Okay, so expunge. So that is cool, but I mean, with this, it brings more questions to me. Like, is it only retroactive for the first offense? What have you?
I'm not sure how many offenses they give you, but I know if it was like a nonviolent drug crime, and I don't know how many grams of weed you had to have on you, but I think if it was like a misdemeanor or a time where you only got a certain amount of time, they will expunge your record.
All right, so what if you're still in, but still, they're not even letting people out of jail who are in for that. All right, so what about, how things snowball, right? I go in jail, I'm locked up for a weed charge. I go into jail, I'm pissed off, so now I'm in there and gets hit with disorderly conduct or something. What is it, K-Leaf Broder story? Have y'all seen that?
Get added more time for while you in there?
Yeah, you get more time while you in there for, just for survival reasons. Mm-hmm. Does, the new weed charge, since that was the original thing, does that counteract any of that? What is?
To be honest, I didn't get that deep in it because I think that's a whole. I don't know if they're going to uphold those crimes. You going to jail. Say you only got 2 years because of the drug crime or possession. Then you go in there and then you stab somebody and you get 5 more years. I don't know if they're gonna be like, all right, hey, your weed case really didn't count. We're gonna throw that out. And since you stabbed them, it was in jail, so it really didn't count. Nah, I can't see that. Nah.
Most likely, nah.
Yeah, but you have to understand though, the difficulty. position.
Oh, I understand that.
Of how, like, you know, it's fair. It's because he's pissed off he has to be in there in the first place, right? So you can understand him going off and, enrage against his system within that. So you charge him for it, you reprimand him for it. Now you're saying, oh, you know what? That original thing you did wasn't so bad. which is what angered you in the first place.
Right.
So it actually should kind of, retroact on that. I know it's not going to happen, but that's what it makes it brings along those questions of morality or legal morality. Like, okay, you're saying it's okay now, meaning it pretty much was always okay for like millions, at least hundreds of thousands of black kids have got thrown in there, messing, creating that initial snowball of whether, hey, that's your first strike. Now something happened in school because of that first strike, or you're in jail and something happened because of that first strike. Like, it is such a severe initial snowball that causes other things. So now it's legal, and you want to go back and fix. Like, how do you not go back and truly fix? You're only kind of half-ass fixing. So that would be my thing. Like, are you actually going to go back and fix?
I think I got one person here that say what they gonna do. They gonna weigh it different. Allegedly, they supposed to do it different between, like I say, felony and misdemeanor. I think depending on probably how many years and how severe it was, they would expunge it to the point where it doesn't show up again. But I think that's for people that probably got less than 5 years that did like a minor drug crime. But I had somebody ask a question here. Say, ask the lawyer. They say, does the system still bring up your old case you served time and they combined it with a new case, even if you've been on probation for over a year?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but generally, if it's in your record, it's in your record. It's gonna pop back up. If you been arrested, you have your arrest record. If you've been convicted, you have a convicted record. If you have probation, it depends on the terms of your probation. If you have deferred adjudication, it depends on the terms of your deferred adjudication. Right. But if you got a record, chances are it's going to pop up.
So if you haven't done anything extra to expunge it, I guess, hey, it's going to pop up no matter even if you've been off of probation or however long.
And Ms. Deanna Adams said each case will have to be looked at individually. That's what she said. All right,
hey, well, each case still needs to be looked at individually, so I would still seek counsel for that for sure. Yeah. So I wouldn't let our work be the one all be all for sure on that. But I would ask this: so if we don't think that criminalizing debt, I just feel like we missing something. I feel like that it's something coming that we just haven't seen yet. If they letting all these people out for drugs, I feel like it's some way that they gotta be locking people up for something. Like,
go to jail for something.
What is next that can be criminalized, that can almost be, I'm not gonna say solely with us, but minorities? I mean, then I just...
Hey, you guys, anything. Whatever, one law may come off the books, how many more laws are going on the books? Right? So
to be honest, it's a lot of, maybe it's just the internet, but they have a lot of good laws look like they coming out. I was searching bad laws and everything, but maybe the net neutrality already started and they got me going only towards the good stuff.
I kind of, again, this is not my area of expertise, but I kind of have this feeling. Marijuana is not a charge that you get. Marijuana is not a charge that you really get beat over the head that much with, unless you move with weight.
Oh, I mean, I seen a lady the other day on the TV show. Her first offense, she was moving something, driving for her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. Didn't know how much weight she had in the car. First time she got like 30 to 60 years. Okay, first offense.
But that's moving weight. But for most people, like, if you have like an ounce or less, some small amount like that, but you have a history of something else, right? Mm. Well, then that's when you get hit, right? Because then you have the third strike type thing and stuff like that, right?
You built up a record.
Right, you built up a record. But if you ain't got no real record to speak of, and you have like an ounce or less or something like that, you ain't really gonna get hit with the book, right? So I have this feeling that the people who are sitting in jail is more along the lines of lots of weight, or some sort of like felony crime with violence. Right.
I got people saying hate crimes and child support. They gonna crack down on it. Child support, hey, they gonna come get y'all. Y'all better be ready, hey man. Y'all ain't paying y'all child support out there. Hey
right?
man, they come to get y'all.
Right back in jail. That's
But
almost
nah.
as bad as the weed, huh?
But I mean, the weed thing is still here. It's here
For
to
sure.
stay for a minute. It's only a few states that have fully legalized.
How long you think it's gonna take before Texas get it
Texas?
recreational wise? Nothing else recreational. I think we're about 15 years away.
About 15 years, because like that next this
There's
current
a lot of people
coming
man.
I think
of
before
age
2030.
generation. Yeah,
And we're about to have legal gambling. In my opinion, I think that we're about to have legal gambling in Texas probably in the next session or two. And then after that, it's a hop, skip, and a jump before we get medical and then recreational marijuana to be here in Texas.
Right.
So I don't think it's that far away.
I mean, I would hope that it's not far away, but I looked at when they show the map, and I look at, it's amazing that you can win all the big cities in Texas and still lose Texas. Like you can win San Antonio, you can win Houston, Dallas, Austin, and you can still lose Texas. They let you know how much power these little rural states and rural countries, where these areas are. Like
it's a lot of people.
It's
like,
a lot of
there's
people that
more
will vote just
people
because.
out there. Yeah, it's not even just because. Like they vote, they've been voting. But
I mean, they will vote against whatever
Vote.
initiative that Democrats
Again.
or anybody on the left want to vote for just because.
Correct.
I mean, Donald Trump should be that number one, like that. Like, hey, they will vote right no matter what. There's some people that's what they gonna do. They not gonna vote for you.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's because they outvote the populations in those cities, because we got more people in the cities than across the rest of the state.
But I mean, how the blocks are lined up.
Right.
You're not gonna be able
It's
to win
pretty
those,
split
no matter even
even.
if it's more people.
currently, you pretty much need a rural area population versus inner city population.
Well, what they got against us is that they got those rural areas have more state representatives, right? I don't remember if it's state senator, state legislator,
Okay.
but they, when there's voting, they got a person for each of those districts, right?
Correct.
And you only have a certain number of people for the Houston, Dallas, Austin,
True.
big cities, right? So when you go to, and then Texas in general is a red state, so when you go to Austin, you got people in Congress, the state Congress, far more Republicans, right? And I don't remember what the criteria is, but if you want to have something to go straight to the people, a ballot straight to the people to change something in the state constitution, it has to meet some requirement. I don't know what it is. So that means most things goes through representation,
Right.
state Congress, and so if they've got all the representatives, well, and the governor, then we ain't gonna see
Much change on
much
that.
change.
I mean, you got to think about
Yeah.
this. It's hard to get a black governor in Texas because, like you say, you need those little rural cities, and no black person is gonna really go win those little towns no matter what. That's just something that's just really not gonna happen. It's not ready for. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how much sense you talk to some of these people. They gonna be like, yeah, it sound good, but then they gonna go in that booth and they gonna be like, who the person for the Republican? Like, what's the Negro on the other side? Like, nah, they ain't gonna let that happen. But nah, for sure. I'll tell you.
What y'all think about a nice little push to get majority of black people in America to move to Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas? Because then you got numbers. You got 55 million people, 60 million black people across America, all pouring into one, maybe two states. You can control every level of government.
That would sound good, but it's a lot of people
the
that
numbers don't work out like that.
Yeah, it's only 25 million, 26 million people in Texas. So imagine you have, and remember,
You said all
but they would
42
have to
million?
move. But they would have to move to rural areas because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you can have all the votes you want. They can be in Houston and San Antonio. They'll be like, perfect.
No, I
we done
understand that. That's why I
redrew
said-
these lines.
That's why I said Texas. Because you're gonna have black folks coming from rural areas who want to live in a rural area.
For
And
sure.
That's cool.
All right.
So even if
Makes
we
sense.
only match, let's say we get 25 million people to move to Texas, you're gonna have white people who leave because it's too many black people. I'm leaving, and which is good for us.
Right.
But what y'all think about that idea? You get a bunch of black people to
I
come
was in
here.
town ball and I've seen somebody trying to get too dark in here.
ideal, but generally black folks these
Dark in
days
here.
don't like the rural area. It's an uncomfortable environment.
I mean, what if you get
feel
black folks?
safer
What if you
towards
get black
the
folks who
suburbs.
live in a rural area to come to a rural area? So I'm in rural Mississippi, and
Come to rural Texas.
We've incentivized them to come to rural Texas in some form or fashion. You know.
So you're not throwing away your vote in Mississippi by being a minority or whatever section and come here to at least build up a majority in rural Texas, which is a bigger state.
And if you get even half of 55 million people, you get 25 million people just en masse within a 5-year time span coming down to Texas. By just sheer numbers, you're gonna have people move outside of the cities. You're gonna have to see the expansion of cities.
Of the suburbs.
You're gonna have to see an expansion of rural areas.
Okay.
And just by default.
I see that.
Yeah,
I mean, it could work. But what I've learned is a lot of rural black folk are also Republicans. So how you would then have to fix the black Democratic Republican divide at that point. But also, I think the Latino growth is kind of going to take care of that anyway.
Yeah, but Latinos they don't vote as a bloc. You got just as many Latino, I just call them ethnic Latinos who do their own thing, and then a bunch of European like Latinos, more white Latinos.
No, but the younger generation is kind of modern and progressive, majority. So once they become of age, this is where like even the data is pointing towards is when it's it's going to.
Which is cool, but their
by
priorities
priorities
ain't our priorities.
It's not, but there's quite a few similarities, especially in terms of weed laws, legalization.
Yeah. But them in power don't make me feel no safer.
It makes me like
I'll put it
like
like
my
this.
Latino folk.
Right. Hey, well, I'll tell you, we're going to be right back with another quick break real quick, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.